Hey everyone, this is DeagleBeagle. So today we're going to have a look at the tier list just for the new Pokemon, the Regulation D ones that came out from Home Transfer. So some of these have been really good. A lot of them haven't been very good. So let's rank them. I'm not going to really rank all the other Pokemon, except I could briefly say what approximate tier they might fall in if they're really high in usage. But first I'm going to go over all this. And for some of the Pokemon I'm more unfamiliar with, it's going to be less accurate. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to start off with the Pokemon in Regulation D, the new ones that I think are among the best. So Landorus T is very good. It's one of the best Iron Hands counters because it has Intimidate, plus it has a lot of, well, decent amount of defense, and it super effective with like Stomping Tantrum or whatever, and can hit it with Terra Flying Blast if it chooses to Terra Grass, which is their most common Terra. And Tornadus is really good. Not the Therian form though. So we'll just start with the top tier. I'll just look through this really quick. Don't see any top tiers in the first row, top row. Heatran is pretty good, but I don't think it's as well. It depends on how you use it. It might be top tier, but it has a lot of weaknesses. It has some great resistances though. Rillaboom is really good. Fake Out and immunity to Spore and Woodhammer with Grassy Terrain and etc. Urshifu is really good. I'm questioning if it should be top tier or not though, because there's a lot of Pokemon that just beat it. But yeah, I don't think I would say it's top tier personally, but it's probably like, you would think I should say that because it's number 2 in usage, but everyone's trying to counter it, or they just wall it and take it out. So I don't think like Urshifu is top tier, but it's close. Well, it depends on how you define top tier. Not like top, probably not like top 10. It's below that. It used to be really a lot better, but people know how to counter it now. They use like Terra Water. They just have, for Single Strike and Rapid Strike I'm talking about, they have like multiple fairy types for Single Strike, let's just say, or for Rapid Strike. Even if they don't have Gastrodon, they'll just have a bunch of Pokemon like Rillaboom or Terra Water, anything like Landorus or Terra Water Goldango, Amoonguss, whatever, Sunny Day. So it's not nearly as good as it used to be. And then Cresselia is good. I don't know if it's, I don't think it's, well, it might be barely top tier, or like barely S tier, but I'd say it's probably going here for now because it has a decent amount of weaknesses, or common weaknesses, even though that's kind of mitigated by a Terra or a Fake Out support or whatever. And yeah, it's just pretty good though, with like Lunar Blessing and whatnot on certain teams. But the metagame's kind of changing to use more like Chi-Yu, and Fluttermane's always been common. So it's debatable whether some of these should be S or A tier. And Regidrago, I'd say, is like mid tier because it's not that consistent. I tried it a bunch and it just like not doing any damage to a fairy type, and fairy types are really common, and or just like them weakening you before the dragon energy or wide guard, whatever. It just hasn't been doing very consistently, and I don't even want to pick it. Now, Ursaluna, keep in mind when I put these tier lists too, I might define it differently than how I normally do. So, if you use Ursaluna on the correct type of team, it's, well, I guess I could define it the old way where it's like, Ursaluna kind of makes you have to use a Trick Room team, probably, or maybe Tailwind. So that kind of restricts, like, how good it is, where you can't just slap it on any team. But this Pokemon is just really powerful and amazing. So if you're going to define it like that, it should be A tier. But if you're going to just define it a little differently, it would be S. But we could just define it like that, where, yeah, you can't slap it on a team. But on a Trick Room team, though, it's top tier. Same with Cresselia. Could be considered top tier. And Raichu, I don't think it really has a niche. It's, I'm offline. Yeah, I've been having connection problems lately. You would just, like, never use Surge Surfer, because you would have to use, like, Electric Terrain or Pincursion or whatever. And then Dugtrio is outclassed by Iron Treads. Charizard does have a niche, but generally either Moltres or Chi-Yu or something is going to be better. So it's probably mid-tier. And then Voltorb, is that the Hisui form? I think it is. That's not very good, but at least it has maybe a niche with its speed and Chloroblast. And then Tornadus, regular. I know I lost connection. Okay. Or Tornadus Therian. Regenerator's not that useful compared to Prankster, and I really don't see the point. You are faster. I guess I'll make it like D. Where did it go? I'll find it later. I lost it. I should just be going by, or C tier. I should just be going from left to right. Okay, Persian does have a niche with foul play and whatnot, but it's a different meta game than it was before. We have all these fairy types now, like Flutterbane, and Parting Shot foul play spam is just not like it used to be. So I would say Persian is baby D tier. And then Arcanine, it seems, it's hard to say, but it like upper mid tier, because it has a lot of weaknesses, but it has good moves, has a good ability, but it just having that typing, that bad defensive typing, means you have to often Terra with it, and I don't think it's that good because of that. But I mean, it can be. I would just say it's like mid tier. And then Slowbro, that's usually outclassed by other Trick Roomers. Muck is maybe mid tier with minimized nonsense. Tauros has Intimidate and whatnot, but there's typically better Intimidators. Articuno. Let me just look at Articuno Galar versus. Okay, so Galar has way more special attack and different type. Yeah, but it's not. What the heck? It's not ice though. That's the problem. Yeah, Articuno is just better because even though it has actually competitive could be pretty good. Yeah, this is underrated for sure. Freeze dry. Doesn't it get freeze dry? Oh yeah, it doesn't even get that. Okay, well, it's still underrated, but yeah, I don't think it's actually that good. It's probably like C tier, and then Articuno's probably mid tier. If on the right team, you could use Blizzard with it, and it would do pretty well. It might even be higher than that. But the fact that you have to use Abomasnow with it, um, it's just going to have a lack of offensive and defensive coverage. Offensive coverage and defensive, whatever you call it, survivability. And then Zapdos is pretty decent. It does counter Tornadus and Walls Goldango and whatnot. I don't know enough about this Pokemon, but I feel like it's around mid tier because it's great in some ways, but it seems like it just mostly has one stab move that's accurate. Actually, it might get Air Slash, but that, I don't know. It just, unless it super affects something, gets a static hit on something, it's probably not going to do that well. I think it. Oh yeah, it doesn't even get Air Slash. That's sad, man. Let's look at all the moves. Yeah, I have seen people use Hurricane, so it could be decent on a rain team. But it's like, then you might as well use probably some other Pokemon that gets like Thunder and Hurricane on a rain team. But this is pretty decent. Okay, and then Zapdos Galar, I'd say is mid tier because it has its ability and actually pretty good stats in bulk. So really not bad. And with all the Landorus lately, actually it could do pretty well. Moltres has potential from its typing. It's pretty good defensively, like other than like Rock Slide and what electric moves, but and yeah, water moves. But overall, it just wall stuff with like Roost and Grassy Seed or whatever people use with it. So it's probably around mid tier. And then Moltres Galar, I'd say, seems just a little bit overrated because I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it does that much. Like maybe on paper it seems like it does, but it's weak to a lot of things and doesn't have enough offensive like power versus stuff. It's either resisted or whatever. And then Typhlosion's kind of outclassed by regular, or I mean by the Hisui form, because the Hisui form has ghost typing, so it can't be fake outed, and as a second stab, so it's probably better even though it's weak to Sucker Punch. But if you're using Typhlosion, you shouldn't be taking Sucker Punches anyways, ideally, because you're trying to get off an Eruption at full power. I thought I already put this Pokemon. Oh, this is Slowking. Yeah, there's better Trick Roomers. Uxie, I don't even think there's a niche for it. Yawn and what? Yawn? And that's all I know that it really gets in Trick Room. That, yeah, that's just, I don't even think that's a niche, personally. Having Yawn and Trick Room and a lot of bulk, that's not a niche. Wait, what did I just do? I accidentally closed Picolytics. Yeah, that's not a niche. Me Spirit seems bad too. I don't think this Pokemon has any niche either. It's like it doesn't even get yawn, so it might even be worse than Yuxi. Yeah, this one's trash. Not really useful for any niche. Azelf actually gets explosion, so maybe I'll make it that. Let me just show you why. You may be saying, why are you putting Slowbro at a higher tier than Yuxi and Me Spirit? Isn't it a useless Trick Room or two? To that I'd say, not necessarily. You could use Regenerator or Quick Draw, which is a better ability than Levitate on a Pokemon that isn't even weak to ground. And you have unique typing too. And I swear there was the Slowking that had probably, it was more ideal. And it gets Shell Sidearm. Actually, that's not that good, but anyways, it just it has more of a niche. But yeah, they're both really bad. Curious Medicine, that's a decent ability to counter like Snarl or Intimidate. And Regenerator, so not much better than these Pokemon. But anyways, next one, Samurott. I'd say that's probably like C tier, because anything that has a niche, I'm just gonna put a C tier and above. But if it's like outclassed or just like there's really no niche of it, like compared to other Pokemon, it's just like never use these. As far as I know, unless there's some way you can figure out how to use it that I'm not thinking of. And then Lilligant, Hisui form, is actually pretty good with Sun. But do I think it's top tier? No. You have to use it with Torkoal, and people have a lot of sleep powder counters. Zoroark is decent, but its typing is like, I mean, its stats is just, they're not very good, but it can throw someone off. I want to say it's like mid tier, but with it having such crappy stats, I don't know. Like, you can use illusion to your benefit, sure, but I don't know, it just dies too easily. So you could probably make it, I'm probably gonna put it here though, but maybe it should go a little higher. And let's see, Braviary with what, Tinted Lands? I think it's like, let me just look at it again. Esper Wing, and doesn't it get Hyper Voice? Yeah, but it doesn't even get stab on that, so you would have to. Now, this Pokemon is like C tier. Okay, and then Thundurus regular is probably hard to say, because I haven't, there's so many counters for it. I mean, maybe I'll just be generous and say it's this, because you can, it is one of the only Pokemon that gets like a Prankster Thunder Wave, and it does resist some things, but I just don't think it's that good. And then Thundurus T is probably in the same boat, where it's, except it's more offensive and doesn't get a priority Thunder Wave. And then Landorus regular is probably mid tier. His Sandsear Storm is pretty good sometimes, even though it can miss. And then Chestnut is probably C tier, because it just has some weaknesses and seems like it's kind of outclassed by other Pokemon, so I wouldn't use it. And Delphox seems like it might have barely a niche, but it's not that good overall. It just Delphox, I think you would have to just use its ability, Magician, and that's not a super good ability. But you would probably want to use Citrus so you could steal their item. But to me, that's not really a niche. Maybe, like, very slightly. Okay, Greninja. I thought this Pokemon was actually going to be better, but I kind of forgot they have, like, better Pokemon now. Like, you could just use Iron Bundle instead of Greninja, even though it gets Battle Bond and whatnot. So, I would probably just make it somewhat low tier. Carbink has maybe barely a niche because it has a lot of special defense and Sandstorm and unique typing. So, maybe just make it C tier. I almost want to say Carbink had something else. Oh, it does have Sturdy, and Clear Body's not that useful. Well, Sturdy's not that useful either with all its bulk. So, this just doesn't seem good though. Like, maybe it should even be D, but I'm just going to be generous and say it's C. And then Goodra has potential, but it just doesn't seem that consistent. And Avalugg, it's usually outclassed by, like, Glastier, because, like, Mountain Gale is somewhat inaccurate. You could use Wide Lens, and that would help with that in Rock Slide. But I want to say its speed tier is not the same. But it actually, I might give this another test because it does have, like, enough speed to outspeed Ursaluna. Except, yeah, I just don't like Mountain Gale missing more often. And it does have a rock move for coverage. Sure, and Sturdy, but I think Glacier just has better defenses and is weak to probably less things. So, probably make this C tier, and or maybe B, whatever, on a Trick Room team. And then Decidueye, I don't even think it has an itch. Let me double check. Well, Hisui form, let's just say. I think this is the Hisui form. Oh, both forms. Scrappy. But what ghosts are you hitting though? Because, like besides Goldango, there's not, I mean, there's Fluttermane, but that is part fairy, so it's going to resist you, even if it Terra Fairies. So, what other ghosts are there? I mean, there's Terra Ghosts you could go through. Not a ton of ghosts that it would be useful for, mostly just Goldango. So, I would give this probably a C tier. And then the regular form, Long Reach. Okay, so that would be a good way to beat Rocky Helmet, I mean. But yeah, I just remember Spirit Shackle being like its niche move, but that's not that great of a move. So I don't even think that's a real niche. Yeah, Long Reach, I don't know. I could just make it barely C tier since it might have some weird niche, but it's probably more like D. And then Cinderace, I know Libero got nerfed where you can only change the typing one time, and court change could be decent versus all the screens. You have it in the back, let them set up the screens, and then court change. This Pokemon is probably, though, probably C tier. And then Inteleon, it does get Snipe Shot, yeah, and Ice Beam and whatnot, but I don't know. I mean, that like Follow Me isn't used that much anymore, so it kind of loses its niche unless people are using a lot of Follow Me stuff, and it's typically outclassed by like Bundle or whatever. So I'd make it C tier. Regieleki is good, but there's a lot of just counters to it that resist electric, like Rillaboom, Landorus, etc. So Regieleki is definitely good. It used to be probably better before everyone started using Landorus. And if you have to use Terra Ice Blast, it probably isn't worth it. It's hard to say what tier it's in, but it'd probably be like mid tier now. But before I would have said it was like A tier. And then Glastier is, well, on a Trick Room team, it's top tier. So you could even argue that the Trick Room Pokemon are top tier in Trick Room. So it almost is almost like S. And Glastier outspeeds Ursaluna if Trick Room's up, so it's been doing really well for me in Trick Room. And then Spectrier, it gets a good ability just like Glastier, where it like boosts, it's like a beast boost where it like boosts its offense one stage when you knock something out. But in practice, Spectrier hasn't really done enough to probably make it worth it over Fluttermane. I would probably make it C tier unless I try it out more and can use it to its full potential or see someone else do that. And then Wordeer, it does have Intimidate and Trick Room, but typically Frigg or Cresselia is just better. And then Cleaver, I don't know why some people are fascinated with this Pokemon. Yeah, it has Stone Axe, but other than that, it doesn't necessarily do a whole lot, even though Bug is pretty good in the meta right now to super affect a lot of things, and Rock is decent too. But maybe it's just because I haven't used it. I might have used it one time, but it doesn't seem that good. So either B or C tier. Just doesn't seem that good though. And then Basculegion, well, on a rain team, it's actually really good, even though there is Sucker Punch. So, but the fact that there's Sucker Punch means you might need like Totera with it or whatever. That's probably, let's just make it B tier, because you not only do you need rain, but you probably need like some way to beat Sucker Punch, and you might have to Terra because of that. But I almost feel like actually, well, it kind of feels like a step up. It feels like a step up though from all those. Yeah, I'm gonna just put it here. Sneasler. Well, what most people do is use Terraflying Acrobatics with it, and it is alright, but it doesn't seem like it's that good. I'm gonna make it C tier. Overquill. Yeah, Overquill, I don't really see the niche. Maybe barely. And then, why am I blanking on this one? It's that's the Therian form, the one that looks like the turtle. Oh, it's Enamorus. So Enamorus, it's decent with Contrary, sure, but other than that, it doesn't seem like it does that much. So I'd probably make it C tier, and then this one I'd probably make B tier because it has like overcoat and stuff. The problem with the Namor's Therian form though is that Springtide Storm, its accuracy doesn't get boosted by rain. I don't agree with that mechanic and don't understand why it's that way, but that's how it is. So these are some rough tiers. I know people are going to probably disagree with me about a few of these, like the ones in A tier that saying they should be S tier, but I don't think I agree. On certain teams they are, but on any team in the meta right now, I don't think Urshifu will be top tier, and then like Basque Legion has a little bit too many issues with it, like relying on not only weather but getting intimidated, sucker punch, etc. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be like, yeah, A tier. Heat Ran just has a lot of weaknesses, and I just felt like it wasn't that good compared to other things I could be using, but I think I was using it wrong. You're not supposed to normally lead with Heat Ran. You're supposed to, not saying you never should, because it can be a great lead sometimes if they happen to not super affect you, but generally you should probably have it in back and wait for them to use their fairy moves or whatever and then switch it in on that kind of team. But it having all those weaknesses, there's no way it can be S tier. And I was like, I don't even think this Pokemon's in the top 10, even though it does counter some things really well. But you should probably use it more like on the switch and then like leading with a. You shouldn't normally lead with Pokemon that have a lot of weaknesses. And then Cresselia, that's debatable whether it's S tier or not. I'm not really sure myself, even after using it for a while. But I do know it's a great Pokemon, Lunar Blessing and Trick Room. It's good with Ursaluna. It's probably like the number 1 or 2 Trick Roomer. I prefer Frigg Draft though over Cresselia generally because blocking priority is just really useful. Not just fake out, but like extreme speed, sucker punch, etc. So I'd say Cress is generally slightly outclassed by Frigg, even though it's you can't completely compare them because Cress is bulkier and has Lunar Blessing. But other than that, Frigg is better in almost every way. So I'd say Frigg is probably, well, better than Cress. So yeah, I feel like, and I feel like Frigg may be barely S tier. So I'm comfortable keeping Cress in A tier. And then Ursaluna, there will be some speed ties, but it does it does just have a ton of offense and it's hard to wall. So it seems like it deserves A tier. I'm not sure if it should be S tier or not because it kind of relies on Trick Room. Same with Glass tier. That's why I'm kind of hesitant to make them top tier. I think the tier list I made is fine. So I should actually make a new tier list where it just shows the S and A tier Pokemon. And I need to fix my old tier maker because I accidentally kept importing the same Mons over and over when I would edit it. So, thanks for watching.